Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley here, Billingsley Brand Lures. So I thought today we would kind of go back over some of the snare and snaring techniques that I use, or cable restraints, if that's what you have to use in your state. I thought I covered everything pretty well, but it's kind of evident to me that by some of the comments that I've gotten, some of the messages, that maybe I'm skipped over some stuff a little fast, or maybe I didn't go over it thorough enough. So that's kind of what I want to go through today with you. Um, okay, so my snares that I make, this happens to be one of my raccoon snares. This is about 2.5 or 3 foot of 7x7, 3/32 cable. Okay, the loop, now you can make it with 3/32 if you'd like, or 7x7, but I've kind of switched and went to this 1x19. And then this is a cam lock. Now that's legal here in Iowa. Now if you have to use cable restraints, then I would suggest that you use the micro lock or possibly the Riker, one of those two. I would stay away from the slim lock as much as I possibly could. Those things are sharp and they will flat cut a cable right now. The reason I switched over to this 1x19, it's a lot faster cable. And I'll show you the difference in it. Now this cable's been loaded, as you can see, and it's just a whole lot faster drop with the lock than what, now this is the same type of setup, only made with 7x7, 3/32. And you'll see the difference here. It's a little bit slower. It's not as fast of a cable, and it wants to hang in a teardrop versus a perfect round circle. I like the circle best myself. So, and a lot of things where a lot of people run into trouble, okay, when they're snaring, there's two things. Number one, they don't get that snare supported solid. And number two, they get the lock in the wrong position. If you're hanging that lock straight up and down in a 12 o'clock position, any little thing, and I mean any little thing, watch, just all you have to do is just touch that cable and that loop falls. All right? So you want to get that lock off in that 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock position. Okay, somewhere in there. And what that does, it's like putting pan tension on a foothold trap. When it gets to a certain spot, when that animal's pulling on it, it fires, and it fires all at once. Okay, and that's very important part of snaring. So you want to get that lock off there on the side. And then if you're snaring in the water or even on dry ground, a strong wind or a rabbit, a muskrat swims by it, a strong wave is not going to blow that loop shut on you. The animal's actually going to have to put some force behind it in order to fire that snare, and that's important. Okay, even when you're using the 1x19 cable, still has to get to a certain place before it fires, and it fires all at once. Again, though, if you're hanging it up here 12 o'clock, see how slow that is? And see how much, I mean, it doesn't take anything to drag it shut. But see how much slower that is? It's important to get that momentum of that lock to come around that cable. As it's coming around, it's building momentum, and then when it gets here, boom, it's shut all at once right now. You can see, big difference there, big difference. And that means the difference between making a catch or having a miss. So that's very important. The other thing is stabilizing the snare. You've got to get them stabilized solid. Now, I use just a piece of black annealed number 9 wire. Now, you can use the galvanized if that's all you can find. I personally, myself, I would suggest if that's all you can find is the galvanized number 9 wire, I would build me a fire in the yard, and I would throw that roll in there and let it cook. Cook that galvanizing off of it and make it soft anneal, just because it's easier to work with. It's a whole lot softer. It's easier to work things with. That also, and then it kind of blends in a little better too. You don't have that shiny galvanized sticking out there at them. You've got brown wire, or black wire, so it's not going to stand out to them as much. And the way I stabilize my snares, I take my pliers and I come up here about 6 or 8 inches, and I put a very sharp bend in it right there like that. Then I come over here on this other side, on the short side, take my pliers, a couple inches, and I put another very sharp bend, just like that. This goes in the ground. If you just go up and you stick this number 9 in the ground like this, that snare and that support is going to flop everywhere. But you shove this end in the ground just like that, now it's solid. Now it's not going to go anywhere on you. It's not going to be flopping around. It's not going to move. That's very important. Snares have to be supported solidly, okay? And then you've got a couple different ways that you can support. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it in the camera there, but this is just a little piece of neoprene poly type hose. I believe the outside diameter of this is 3/16 as I recall. Now don't quote me on that. If you want to make sure you get the right size, take a piece of cable with you, take a piece of number 9 wire with you, go to the hardware store, and just start poking until you find the right size to fit. Now I take that piece of hose and I slide it on, and it's going to fit tight onto the end of that number 9 wire, just like that. Then when I come to that trail, I stake my snare and I shove that support wire in, and then I start adjusting, bending the cable, bending the wire, moving it around to where I get it to where it's hung right. Okay? And for a raccoon, I want about you can see I'm hanging about a 7-inch loop, and I want to be at least 7 or 8 inches up off of the deck, off of the trail. Okay? That's going to put that, most of your coon are either going to be neck snared or one leg through. Your fox are going to be neck snared, okay? So you want to be about 7-inch loop, 6.5, 7-inch loop, 7, 8 inches, somewhere in there up off the deck, all right? And I try to pick the level spot of the trail. Now, you can do it on an angle, but you just have to bend, or twist, I should say. You have to twist your collar to where you get the angle right. The snare always has to be parallel to the trail, always. If he's going uphill and you've got your snare hanging with, against the, I don't know, I'm trying to get this right, guys, so you can see what I'm talking about. If he's going uphill and you've got your snare hung like this, it's not going to work. But if you tip that snare out, so to say, so that the bottom of it is parallel with the trail, that's how you make it work. So that's why it's easiest to find the flat spot, whether it's up on top or whether it's clear down at the bottom. Try to get in those places, okay? Now, we'll move on here to snaring beaver and coyotes. Again, we're up here now. We've got about a 10-inch loop, okay? Especially for a coyote or for a beaver, either one. And again, now this one has a little metal. It's called a whammy. Okay, it's just a little coiled up piece of metal, and you can buy these from a trap supply dealer that sells snare parts. You can buy these, and you just put them on that number 9 wire, get them on there good and snug so they're solid. And again, it's the same principle. The only difference is the height. Okay, for beaver, I want to be about 4 fingers high off the deck. Okay, for coyotes, I want to be up there about 10, 11 inches off the deck. That's going to neck snare your coyotes. It's going to neck snare your bobcats. If for some reason you think you need him to pick his head up for any reason, all you have to do is drape a piece of grass over this, or put a small stick under the loop straight up and down, and he'll pick his head up and stick it in there every time, I promise. Okay? So those are some things you need to think about. Again, you want the lock off over there on the side, somewhere in that 10, 11 o'clock position, 1, 2 o'clock. Never, ever 12 o'clock. Because again, watch. See how slow that thing falls? Very slow. But now when we've got it off there in the position that it needs to be, and it's just gone like that. Okay? Now, if you're snaring beaver in the water, which I do a lot of, especially on the side of trees, I snare a lot of trees. What you do is take your number 9 wire to support it to your tree, is just get you some fencing staples, inch or inch and a half fencing staples, and you drive one in right here, and then you bend that wire up or down, whichever way, and drive another one here. So you've got 2 staples in there, and then that will hold that against that tree solid. And then when you're snaring them in the water, I want somewhere between half and 2/3 of this loop underwater, because you've naturally got more beaver swimming under the water than what you do on top. When a beaver's swimming on top of the water, all you see is basically is his nose, his ears, and his eyes, and that's it. The rest of him's under the surface. So you've got to get more loop under the surface in order to make that to catch that beaver. So I hope this helps, guys. I really do. I know it's been a while since I put any content out, and I apologize for that. Just haven't been doing a lot. I haven't got any traps out right at the moment. I'm trying to get ready to go down to South Louisiana for a couple of weeks. I'm leaving here the 9th or the 10th. We'll be down there for 2 weeks, so look for a lot of content then. Be trapping raccoon, mink, nutria, beaver, otter with a smattering of bobcat and gray fox thrown in also. So you want to stay with us, stay tuned, and pick up on that content as well. Or maybe you want to go back and watch some of my older videos. Maybe there's something in there that you've had a question about, and maybe I've got an answer in there for you. Guys, I sure appreciate you tuning in and watching. I really do. I appreciate all the support that you've given this channel. If you haven't yet, if you would please, hit that subscribe button for me. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that notification bell and leave me a comment. I answer every comment that comes in. I promise you I do. I'm not like a lot of the other guys where I just skim over them and answer the ones I want to. I will respond to every comment. Again, I appreciate it, guys. This is Dale Billingsley with another one. Signing out.